There's world changers or wannabe world changers who think they have to change a billion people, and there's the real world changers who change the world for one person.
To say rejection is not a bad thing. It's the fertilizer for your dreams to grow in.
But if I quit, then I've lied to them and I've lied to myself.
Self-confidence really does come from keeping your word to yourself. Every time that you keep your word to yourself on what you said you were going to do, you build a little bit of self-confidence, right?
I'm David Specht, and this is Keep This in Mind.
Hello there. Welcome to Keep This in Mind, brought to you by SpechtHealth.com. I am David A. Specht, and I have an amazing guest-oriented show for you today. I have a good friend that I've met back maybe a year ago now, that really we kind of just crossed paths through a mutual endeavor, and he coined a phrase that has just really stuck with me for a long time and really affects my mindset on how I make decisions. And he said these words in a speech. He said, "You were created on purpose for a purpose." His name is Chad Free. He is founder, chief cook and bottle washer at Black Diamond Mindset and Money Moves. He wrote the book, Wake Up Your Retirement. And like I said, he's my good friend. And I just want to welcome Chad to the show today. Chad, how are you doing, sir?
Man, what's going on, David? I am so glad to be here, brother. I am pumped.
So I wanted to bring you on the show for a very specific reason. And that is, a lot of the members of this audience are in what I call the halftime part of life. They've done some things up to this point. It doesn't matter whether you're 30, 40, 50, 60. You've done some things up to this point. And you may feel like you're pigeonholed in a certain lane. And then you're like, is this all there is? And I want to talk about the fact that you created the idea of waking up, and it's not just in finances, although that's what your first book was about, and I know that you're working on another book, but about waking up your life, waking up to something better. Kind of tell me what your personal story is that led you to this concept of waking up.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my signature message. All right. I believe everybody's created on purpose for a purpose, and two things prevent people from ever pursuing that purpose, and that's their mindset and their money. And so many people are focused on surviving that they can't even fathom what it's like to thrive. Because look, we're doing what we feel like we're supposed to be doing, and we've got it almost right, but we're out here hustling and trying to make a way for our family and provide for our family. But sometimes that takes our vision and our focus off of the blessings that are right here in front of us. Mm-hmm. So my life, I started as a very young entrepreneur. I've had several businesses and climbed several ladders that were against the wrong building. I experienced success, but there was always an obstacle up top. Mm. And to make you understand my story, it goes back to my family. I have got an awesome family, man. I really had a great childhood. My mom was on this side of the spectrum. She gave me hugs, kisses, love. If she comes anywhere near me right now, she's going to give me a big old hug, and she's going to grab my cheeks, and she's going to say, I love you so much. Right? But my dad was on the other side of the spectrum. He was a stone cold hustling machine, man. Mm. And he, as a child, I craved this much of what my mom showed me from my dad. But he had a house paid for when he was 35 years old. He retired in his main occupation, career, not occupation, it was his business, in his late 40s. Mm. And so that was success to me. We didn't live a flashy life, but we never went without. And as long as we appreciated and never took for granted, we about had whatever we wanted. Mm. But he said three things over and over to me in my life, and that's never take advantage of people. stand up for people who are being took advantage of, and celebrate people's successes. So if he said it once, he said it 301 times, right? So I'm listening to this. So it became a part of who I am. I'm very protective. I have a protective spirit, but then I've got my mom too, where I truly love people and I want the best for them and I want to encourage them. So long story short, man, I worked my way up all these ladders, and then I had this divine disruption. That's what I'll call it. I finally got to the spot where I thought, this is what I've been working for. This is finally the opportunity. And I even, said that God opened this door for me, and he did, but not in the sense that I was thinking, because it's a whole nother story. But I lost out on a very large amount of money. And I was in a position where I took 2 loans out just to push through that time, because at the end of the tunnel, that light was really bright, and I was going to be getting paid a very significant amount of money very shortly. I told my wife it's coming. As an entrepreneur, have you ever told your spouse, hey, it's on its way? I promise it's on its way.
You're reading my mail, man.
And you go all in on this, and that it literally, it's on its way. And that light was my source, and it kept me going. And then that source went out. The light went completely out. And here I am after taking 2 loans out just to get by. The weight was on my shoulders. I felt like I was holding a boat up, and not just holding it up, but keeping it stabilized, because I didn't want my family to experience the troubles that I had on me. Because I love my family, and most people do, right? But I'll tell you, here's where things flipped for me. I would tell you that I depended on God, but I did not know what it was like to depend on God until I had to depend on God. So I was in my closet, and I was in a fetal position, crying my eyes out, not knowing how I was going to make it, not knowing how I was going to, provide. And I'm established, I've got a house, I've got 2 boys, I have a great wife, and the financial guy is broken, literally. And I asked God for help. And here is where that verse came from, or that saying came from. It came from God. As soon as I asked for help, it was very clear to me. He said, I created you on purpose for a purpose. And it's like he sat me down in a chair and showed me a slideshow of my life. And he said, you have been living your life to be like your dad and achieve the markers that he had in his life. And you're living your life in a panic mode because you're not doing it. You see, that's how I described, that was what success was to me. And so because I wasn't hitting those markers, man, I wasn't present. I was wandering through this life and just hoping something would shake out in my favor. So I got off that floor, and my bank account was still broke, but my spirit was overflowing because I never knew. My dad did not put that on me. I was obsessed with that. And it was the biggest burden that was lifted. And it was at that moment that money was no longer a source for me. God was my source. Money is a resource now. And it's income for impact. And it's a provision for my vision. And that's it, man. I'm living a life inside out, and I can't shut up about it. I want everybody to experience what I'm experiencing, because, man, it's incredible. It's life-changing.
The fact that some of the things that you brought out in your story, really kind of became some light bulb moments for me just listening and watching you. Number one, I think that a lot of us who have a strong father influence, good or bad, have to not necessarily shed it, because again, you want to honor where you've come from, but you also have to step into your own. What is my purpose? I can't live my father's purpose, right?
Yes.
And that really speaks to me personally, because I am I assumed the father's business upon his passing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always been in the family business, and so the branch out for me, moving from Louisiana to Tennessee, was kind of my watershed moment. Even though I still have that back there, it's like, okay, but what's David supposed to do? What's his new purpose? You know, and so I resonate with that. Number two, I thought about when you were talking about, the blessings of God being right there in front of you, and you're not willing to step into it or take hold of it. You know, not that this is a theological show by any stretch of the imagination, but I think about when God brought his people out of Egypt. You know, he took them out of Egypt, but he couldn't take Egypt out of them. And they even got to the point when they were following his specific sign, there was grumblings of, well, we had it better in Egypt. And I think a lot of us, especially hitting this mid halftime part of our lives, or we at least perceive it as that, we often say, well, the first 30 was a better time for me because I was hitting my stride. I was 20 to 50, between 20 and 50, I was it. Now that I'm 50, I wish I could go back to being 20 to 50. And it's like, no. You've got a purpose that's from here forward. And so
That's right.
I want to talk to you about, okay, you had the encounter with God. You had the clear definition, or at least the clear inspiration to say, okay, it's time for me to step out into my purpose that you are now revealing to me, even if it's only one step at a time. But you said your bank account was still broke. So kind of talk to me about, because I find myself in a very similar situation that you were in at that point. I see the financial weight of, I don't want my family to suffer as I chase what's next. And so there's this dichotomy of what's familiar can try to make the bills, make the ends meet, but what's next is really where I'm supposed to go. How do I not make my family suffer, or how to, and then you carry the burden on yourself, right? You don't even bring it up to the family most of the time. You're like, I got this, we're doing this, we're headed here. And there's this almost not a cloud, but like you said, a weight on the shoulders, like, okay, I'm carrying the financial burden of everything. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to paint this picture. Okay, God's revealed it to me. I've got this direction now, but this weight's still here. This doesn't change the bill collector. This doesn't change the financial needs or necessities. So kind of talk about, what did those first few months post decision look like for you?
Well, I can tell you that I can just tell you my story. I get emotional when I talk about my family. All right. I'm just letting you know that. But the fact that I did a complete 180, and I have been called to live an integrated life, period. And I think that I allowed voices to chirp in my ear to, hey, speaking and coaching and all that stuff, you're just wanting to do that to attract people to your financial business. And so, and a lot of that is sharing my faith, right? So the speaking part and the coaching part. Well, I ran from that because I didn't want to get caught up in that line, or being accused, or being, talked about. I don't know, shouldn't mix finances and, your business and faith and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I was more scared of what people were going to think. And then there was a doubt in my mind that, wow, God, God, yeah, I'm going to stay clear of that. I don't want to be involved in that at all. But here's what I'll tell you. That's what God was calling me to. That's what God was calling me to. So I can tell you that moment when I stepped up and got off of that floor, I completely surrendered to that calling. And that is that faith is not a tab open on my computer anymore. It is my operating system now. So you're going to hear about my faith, you're going to hear about my family, and you're going to hear about finances. I don't mix them up. It's not a siloed life for me. For me, that's what it is. And I read a verse, Proverbs 19:21, and I think it's directed toward Christian entrepreneurs. It says, hey, you can make all the plans that you want, but God's purpose is going to prevail. Man, that's the foundation. That's the foundation. So I gave it all to him. And I can tell you right away, right then, God started opening doors for me. And listen, I say this humbly, but I've made more money in 1 month than I've made in a year since I've done that. That's not the reason I've done that. Please hear me out. But when you truly, truly get in a line with your purpose and what you're supposed to be doing, things start to work out. They just start to work out, and we don't understand it. And if we did understand it, everybody would be doing it. But it's an internal blessing and abundance that now I pursue relationships with my kids. I am present. So I have purpose, I am present, and I am profitable. And I don't have to chase anymore. Just from sharing this message right here, just from truly connecting to people and wanting the best for them, business is coming my way. And so he has just provided. From the moment I stood up, he has provided. And that might be a call coming in. Hey, I need your help with something. I've got $250,000 that I want to do something with. Bam. Thank you. And it's you can't put into words. And it all became, it comes down to that alignment, period.
That's so good. And I honestly glean a lot from those statements. And I hope that the audience does too, because we do have to get in that right alignment for things to work out. And working out, you better be ready for it to look different than you planned, right? The idea of it working out doesn't necessarily mean that the thing you're in right now is the thing you're supposed to be in. So this thing you're in right now may not survive. The thing you're supposed to be in is the thing that God's going to bless, because that's in alignment with what his plan and purpose is for your life.
That's right.
So let's talk about some of the things over the last year specifically. You and I saw each other, I think it was in September, and I know that you have seen some huge strides in your own personal journey. I followed you and Brock Zivan, and what I see is your influence growing, right? The message is getting out, and I believe that if you have a strong message, it becomes a movement, right? So I would like for you to talk about what is going on. Like you told me pre-show that your first book was written from a surface cause and effect framework, and now you're completely, you're not throwing it away, because some of the principles are what you want to put out there, but that your next book that you're currently working on is really going to dive deep and really get into the integrated version of you. So kind of talk about how that's all kind of coming full circle for you.
Yeah. So the book, the working title right now is called The Mindset and Money Revolution. And, it's it's to wake people up and help them realize that everybody's got a next step in their life. Even if it's life 2.0, right? The second half, everybody has a next step. Most will agree with that, to become better. And just for the naysayers, or the people that think they have it all together, I even throw in this line: even the best can become better. Even the best can become better. And so, first of all, you have to have a mindset revolution. You have to realize that you have a belief. What are your beliefs? What does that alignment look like? Is your purpose, or is it a purpose that was put on you, or that you were influenced by? Oh, you would be great at doing this. Well, let me take a run at that. Or the belief statement. What are your beliefs? That is your foundation. And for me, it was, you're created on purpose for a purpose. I'm created on purpose for a purpose. When I really just anchored into that unlocked potential that was down deep inside of me that I didn't know existed. And that was that gift, that my unique ability to connect and just, I guess, have an impact on people. And I'm nobody special, man. I'm not. I'm jacked up. I mess up every day. Look, I'm just a simple dude from South Carolina, right? But I want to help people by sharing my story. But when you have your purpose, that unlocks potential. And that potential will give you the can't stop, won't stop in your performance, right? You just continue. You can't shut me up. And so my activity is just like turned up so much that as a byproduct, I'm profitable. But here's the deal. I'm focusing on what I can control, and that is excellence. So many people, including myself, is focused on success. You can't control success necessarily defined by the world, but you can control excellence, and that's becoming your best self every day. Success is a byproduct of you pursuing excellence. And so when your alignment becomes right, 87% of people, they say, never discover their purpose. I mean, that's sad. So I'm wanting to, wake people up on the mindset side and just show people how programmed we are. I use this joke a lot. I think I opened up at Monster Nation with this. Hey, how many seconds are in a year? Y'all give me that. Who's got the answer to that? And automatically we go to our calculator. We're trying to figure that out. Well, there's 12 seconds in a year. January 2nd, February 2nd, March 2nd. But you see how we were programmed to start doing calculations. But what if there's just this other way? And we got to disrupt that status quo. So that's my mission. Once you do that, then your money needs to flip. It shouldn't be your source. Your purpose should be your source of energy and push. Money's a resource. That's a tool. And then, so on and so forth. So that's what it's about now. And it's just bringing awareness, aware so you can be prepared and live life. Quit living life on default. Live it by design. And it's just, I want that for everybody, man. I really do. But sometimes you got to have those disruptions in your life to get your attention. That's why I say wake up. I wish I could be America's #1 wake up caller. Let's see how we can do that.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper into, because I think we all have that obstacle in our mindset, right? It took you on your knees in the fetal position in your closet to break that obstacle in your life, to whether it was the audible voice, whether it was in your spirit, it really doesn't matter. God spoke to you.
Yep.
And that obstacle, I don't know if it was cracked or shattered, but it was eliminated. What would you say to somebody that's like, I hear what you're saying, man. I'd love to be able to step in like you have, but I've just got all this in the way. I've got obligations. I've got, what would you say to that individual to say, you know what? You're never going to, what does it say? That if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Right.
How do you
right.
get that person, and what can you say to that person that might cause them to look at that obstacle and start chipping away at it?
So I would say that nothing is impossible. Okay. So you've got to come to that conclusion, and then you got to ask for help, because sometimes, I think I may have already said it here. Sometimes you can't see the picture when you're stuck inside the frame. Right. And our Coach Burt, he mentions that a lot. And so, you got to look at your foundation first. We always look out here and we look at external factors. All right. And what we want is we want to see instant results right now. Well, if we build a house, we can't just throw some windows out on the ground out there and throw a roof on top of it and some doors on the side. You got to start with the foundation. And so I would ask yourself, maybe you're a level 10 person, Coach says this too, stuck inside a level 4 opportunity, right? Maybe you need to examine, just because you're solving this problem, is that the problem you're supposed to be solving? Is this what you're truly called to do? And I call it a facilitated introspection. So now you really got to dig deep. You got to dig deep and see, what are your motives? Because you got to have a motor to go through those obstacles. You got to have the power to go through it. So if if it hadn't worked yet, and you hadn't asked for help, it's not gonna work. So you really have to look at the foundation and see what's driving you. Because when I go back to that foundation of purpose, that's what I discovered. Then that unlocked that potential. And that's a lot of people don't understand what that is. I didn't know what it was. Hey, where did you come from? I'm bold, man. I'm confident. And, it's a whole game changer. I don't call people no more. Hey, is this a good time? I'm sorry. Am I bothering you? I'm automatically coming, in a losing position. No, I can help you if you want help. And if we can connect, great. You can probably help me too. But it's a whole demeanor has changed, my confidence level. But that comes from the foundation. And you have to have that foundation of what you believe.
So if we were to kind of put it all together and wrap it all up, I would say you have a purpose awakening, whatever form that takes.
Yep.
Your story is it would be different in somebody else's story. You then have the foundation building. Okay, you found your purpose. This is what you believe. You build the foundation. Now, what am I gonna build this new purpose on?
Yep.
You begin to realize your potential.
Yep.
And then you step into that purpose with confidence, knowing that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Potential with the foundation, will breed confidence, which then will become success, whatever success looks like for that individual. Would that be a pretty good synopsis of the process?
Absolutely. Because let me ask you a question. How would I have been aligned with you? How would I have been aligned with Coach Burt? How could the alignment with the relationships that I have developed, God will align that too, but you got to align first. You have to take that first step. You have to take that next step. And those relationships will come, and you don't need more money. You need more people. And when you're telling your story to truly help people move the needle in their life, they know it. You know what I mean? A lot of people have that sniff test if you're fake or not. And I wasn't fake, but it wasn't genuine because I was looking out for me and my family. But now I truly, success is coming. Success is here. But I'm here to serve other people and truly help them discover their purpose and move money from being their source to a resource. And that's what I do every day, man. And it's such a blessing. It's definitely fulfillment.
Wow. Such a powerful interview, Chad. Thank you so much for being on today. If people want to follow, go deeper with you, what are some of the ways that the world follows Chad Free?
So I'm just getting into the Instagram deal. All right. I know the Facebook world, but I don't know Instagram that well, but I'm starting to get over there. It's at The Real Chad Free. So you can follow me there. You can go to chadfree.com. That's a good place that you can connect with me. You can schedule a time on my calendar. And if you want to talk about your finances, quit wondering and wandering. You know, we just base it on math, and we're using strategies that the ultra wealthy have used for decades, and they still do. And they're in the financial industry, but they don't want the masses to know about it because it's not profitable to them. So we can help you in many different areas, increase your wealth. We see an average of 60 to 100% increase without you coming out of pocket or any additional contributions. So certainly do that. If you want to look at a level, you know, I said it earlier, a level 10 person stuck in a level 4 opportunity, I need people to help me with that, to help other people realize what their options are with their money. So I'll be glad to talk to you about that. But that's it, man. I've enjoyed being on here. It's been a blessing. And yeah, follow me. Follow me. I need all the friends that I can get, baby. Love it.
I understand. And if I can steal a phrase from what you love to do, I encourage my audience, wake up, guys. Wake up. God bless. Thanks for keeping this in mind today. If something landed, share this with someone who needs it. And if you haven't already, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts. Connect with me at davidaspeck.com, and I'll see you next time. God bless.